Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are doing a recap of The Bachelorette season 17 episode 2, Trust Issues. So before we jump into this video, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. If you like the video, smash the like button and drop a comment down below. So let's jump into this video. So this second week of season 17 continued with 2 group dates and 1 very emotional one-on-one date, as Katie continued to grow closer to several of the guys and sent one home during a group date. Now, this first date this week was a group date. Katie was definitely excited to see everyone's personalities come out. And you can tell that it was cold outside that day. So thankfully, this particular group date was going to be inside. And, you know, she was telling them to pretty much expect the unexpected. And they definitely didn't expect this, because when the guys walked into this dark room and saw all of the sex stuff, they definitely were very confused. We saw the rose petals shaped in a heart, and then we saw some pink lingerie, look like a bra, and then there was these fuzzy pink handcuffs. So it definitely gave the whole sexy atmosphere. And then Katie had help from Juicy Scoop podcaster Heather McDonald. So they made it pretty fun with the guys. They started out with the sex quiz, which definitely had a few of the guys stumped. And then they had to also prepare a speech for Katie. But some of these answers of these questions was so funny. I mean, we did also see Mike. He kept posting a question mark. But for the most part, he was definitely nervous about what was to come, and especially when he got ready to give his speech. But for the most part, the guys were definitely into it. They were having a lot of fun. Let me know what you guys think of this whole interaction with them with the sex quiz. So now we also see where this is where the guys were trying to put their speeches together, or whatever they were going to do to present. We had one of our guys do a song for her, and it looked like Katie really liked it. This other guy, he had this blindfold thing going on, and then the whole thing with the... Oh boy, that is so funny. James is hilarious with that whole thing. And then Carl had this picture of, I don't know what he was trying to present. It was so confusing. The guys was looking at him like, man, just get off the stage. You've been up here too long. I don't know what he was trying to say. I mean, let me know what you guys think, because that was crazy. So now it's Mike's turn, and Mike was definitely very uncomfortable during this date because he hadn't told Katie that he was a virgin yet. However, when it was his turn, Mike did share a very kind and sweet poem, which, you know, he helped, it really helped himself express why he was saving himself for marriage. The poem definitely made Katie emotional, and she gave... as we saw, he was the winner of the Greatest Lover trophy, because that was the end game to all of this. Whoever answered the questions and did their presentation, they would get this Greatest Lover trophy, and Mike got it. You know, and the interesting thing, he did highlight that intimacy can come in different many forms, which I thought that was really cool. And the interesting thing, though, even though Mike got that, that trophy, and, she definitely appreciated everything. And you know what? I will say that even the guys, when they found out that Mike was a virgin, they were really good sports about it and applauded, his, pretty much what his value systems are. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But even though, she appreciated Mike for doing all of this and speaking his truth, at the cocktail party, I would say at the after party, later that night, because remember there's a group date, Rose. She definitely interacted with several of the guys, and Thomas was one of them. And Thomas was really inviting when it came to Katie in regards to the embraces that they have. Because, I mean, he went from, he put it, he grabbed her, held her, and she was definitely comfortable with it. But she was all in for everything that was going on with Thomas. And matter of fact, Katie ended up giving Thomas the group date rose later tonight after this at this after party. So I thought that was interesting. I thought she had a pretty good interaction with the cat man. Carl wasn't happy about it, as we saw, but he was trying to say he gonna step his game up. Whereas our cat man, he was once again disappointed. So now a date card arrived because there's going to be a one-on-one date. And of course, everybody's excited. But you know what? I knew before they even said anything that Greg was probably going to be the one to get that one-on-one date, the first one with Katie, especially since he got the first impression rose with her last week. And so it was time for the date. And of course, the guys were glad to see Katie. One of them even volunteered to take Greg's place. But Greg was definitely ready to go. And they kind of matched with their outdoorsy camping gear with the plaid coats or whatever. And they took off in this pickup truck. I thought that was kind of cute. James, on the other hand, was disappointed, but at the same time, we also saw him kind of knock that wooden barrier over and flipped over a little bit. That was hilarious. So this is where we got to see Katie had this outdoorsy time with Greg, and they're setting up tents, they're fishing, and they kind of simulating a camping trip out in the middle of nowhere where they were. Production is pretty interesting on their setup since the whole COVID thing. But they got to keep everybody safe. So Katie, she had a conversation where she's opening up about her dad passing away and being outdoors, reminded her of her dad. And this whole thing was so funny with that makeshift toilet that they had made in the woods. I guess this is something that Katie learned to do. But, she was definitely emotional. The whole conversation was emotional because we're going to see later on that they have even a deeper connection because his father also took him on camping trips and things like that as well. So they have definitely similar interests in how they were raised. So now it's time for their dinner date later in the evening. And this is where we see Greg opening up about his dad passing away recently. So, pretty much throughout the entire date, even when they were, camping and now at this dinner date, the conversation was definitely very emotional. And they both pretty much bonded over the loss of their dad. So I really see Greg going a long way in this competition. I mean, he's kind of standing out of the group. I mean, even though we don't see much of him, he has this quiet spirit that obviously, Katie really likes with Greg. So I can see this guy going far. I was wondering about a couple of other ones, but Greg is definitely number one on my list. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about Greg and Katie's chemistry, because I also think they have a really good chemistry. It doesn't seem forced. They seem like they really, really, truly have similar interests and goals. And, just the fact that they're really vibing off of each other. And, of course, I thought this was cute with the whole fireworks scene. Because that really kind of set off the night. I've seen previews of that whole fireworks scene with, of course, we got to see the back of Greg's head before the season. But I actually thought this was further down the road, and I didn't expect to see this early. But whatever the case, they look like they are really vibing together. So the next group date started with Tasha and Caitlin waking these guys up early, banging on cowbells. And I'm like, man, please. I'm surprised that nobody freaked out. But this is where they got up. They couldn't even get dressed. The guys showed up in their on the date with their pajamas and then changed into cowboy clothes. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because I'm like, what, they're going to be doing something in their underwear? Okay. But anywho, so Katie has this big buckle brawl, and whoever wins Katie's golden cowboy belt buckle. So, the guys competed in mud wrestling. They're hoping to win extra time with Katie because that's also the other part of this as well. And most of the matches were pretty cordial, but there was some issues that happened at this situation. But like I say, most of the guys, I didn't know what to expect. They were pretty cool with each other. However, the match between Aaron and Cody, they fought hard. And obviously, because we saw a clip of that at the first episode, and I was like, why is this guy having such of an issue with this man? I didn't know they knew each other. Well, that's the issue. They know each other from their hometown, and even back home, they didn't like one another. So, of course, we saw Aaron had won the competition. At the point where Katie and Aaron had this private conversation after the whole thing, she commented that she saw the tension between the two of them. And Aaron was very transparent about his dislike of Cody. When they met up with the rest of the group, she definitely wanted to speak to Cody about it. But it came up about something about social media and something that was said on these posts. And I'm like, okay, here we go. But it definitely had Katie concerned because, as we remember from Matt James' season, she does not like bullying. So she did speak with Cody. Cody denied Aaron calling him malicious and unkind. And he acted like he don't even know what Aaron was even talking about. See, and that's the interesting thing because she's asking him and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean malicious and unkind? So it seemed like it's two different realities, Aaron's and Cody's. And so at this point, because of the fact that she couldn't really get any clarity, she decided to send Cody home. She's not playing. You know how some seasons they drag it out and leave the villains or whatever the drama is. Katie is like, nope, I'm not dealing with it. So we had the continuation of these cocktail parties and dates and things like that. And Andrew was one of the guys she really connected with, and she gave him the group rose later that night. So I don't see any chemistry really between the two of them. I mean, hey, obviously, Katie does. She wanted to give him the group rose late, that night, but I don't see it. Let me know what you think. So now we're at the actual cocktail party, and this is right before the rose ceremony. And so Carl decided that he wanted to create some drama that night during that party. And he wouldn't give Katie examples of who was there for the wrong reasons because that's what he started out in the conversation that he had with Katie. And that was kind of weird to me. It's like, why did you bring it up if you're not going to bring up the full transparency of what you think you say you know? I heard this and I heard that. And of course, Katie is going to want to know because of the fact of, like I said, what she went through in Matt James' season. She's definitely not going to go through it in her season. But Carl would not give up any information on who was the one causing the problems, which also had Katie looking at him suspect. And I don't blame her because she was like, okay, is he being authentic or is he just trying to stir the pot? But at this point, Katie was upset. I mean, she was shaking and stating that they need to leave if they were there for the wrong reasons. And while she had already spoke with, of course, Carl, she brought Aaron back. And, in the meantime, Carl admitted to the group that he was the one that told Katie about people who weren't authentic. But he wouldn't say who it was that wasn't authentic. I mean, and of course, those guys flipped on him because when Aaron came out from talking with Katie, he was like, why did you do that? Why are you upset? And look like next week, maybe some of the things Carl is saying is right. I don't know, is that next week or coming down the road? Because there's some things coming out about some of these guys that don't sit well with Katie. So as much as they hate what he said, maybe there is some truth. But at the end of the day, we did not end up with a rose ceremony last night. And some folks are blaming Carl for that. So let's do our post notification shout out. If you want to be shouted out, drop a comment. I will see you and shout you out. This one goes again to Hope Ely. Thank you so much for continuously watching my shows from day one. So until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon.